Yo, this hot, this the spot, there it is, pod.com. We're interviewing the best comedians, so tune in quick and get your ears receiving them. We talking about life and laughter, stream right to you, from the microphone right to your home, dude. Side note, this might get embarrassing, but no, don't sweat, yo, cause there it is.
Welcome to the There It Is podcast, a comedy podcast to help you find your inspiration. I'm your host, Jason Farr. Let's do this. Today's guest is filmmaker, actor, writer, and comedian Laura Ornella. We have a great chat, but first, big thanks to Vanessa Fleming for supporting the podcast and newsletter. If you appreciate what we do with this podcast, festival submission guide, and the newsletter, please consider supporting. We just had our 7-year anniversary of the newsletter, and listeners know the podcast just had its 10-year anniversary. We love bringing all of this to you, and any support is greatly appreciated. Go to thereitispod.com and click the support button. On to today's episode. Laura is awesome. She's performed at Just for Laughs, and her work has been in Vulture, Wyoming International Film Festival, the Hudson Valley Film Festival, and more. And she co-runs Surreal World with Liz Wiest, a surreal film festival that travels the country. The next one is November 14th at the Falcon in Marlboro, New York, part of Hudson Valley. So go check that out if you can. Let's get right to it. Here's my chat with Laura Ornella.
Excited to talk to you about your work because you've done so much. It's always nice to be able to pick someone's brain who's done as much as you have.
Oh, thank you.
So you are originally from Ohio?
Yes, I am.
You went to Ohio University and you had a performance background there, I know.
Yeah.
You moved to New York for comedy. So that means you're already doing comedy in Ohio. Is that correct?
I actually wasn't doing comedy when I
Oh.
moved. No, I moved to be an actor, and then I discovered
Oh.
comedy.
I see. After pursuing comedy, or after you had started pursuing comedy, you eventually get into copywriting.
Yeah, I mean, that was down the road for sure.
Yeah.
I started in improv, and
Mm-hmm.
eventually that led to, the gateway drug to sketch and
And character work, yeah.
characters, and then I had started to write satire. So that's really what got me thinking about how much humor there is in advertising.
Yeah, so much.
Mhm.
And that's, I think, the common hook, I guess, with ads is well, let's get them laughing.
It depends on the product for sure.
Sure.
But
Yeah. But even when it is a medical related thing, it's while they're not trying to get you to laugh, they're at least saying hey, look how great it is to have our
Mhm.
medical product.
Yeah, pharma is big on the fantasy, and I think we could link that all back to comedy. Yeah.
So yeah, you're smiling either way most of the time. But I know you trained at UCB and at the Pit and BCC, but as you said, your gateway was improv. So what made you then want to go into sketch and then character stuff and then satire?
Yeah, well, I am a naturally competitive person. And so truly, there was a guy working at my restaurant, and he was like, yeah, I'm taking a characters class. And there was just something in me that was pissed that I hadn't done that yet. And I just didn't even know about it. And that was all I needed was well, he's doing it. I gotta do it. And so that just opened up a whole new world for me, because I had been a little jaded from improv, just felt like it wasn't totally, me. It's so I don't know what that moment was at the restaurant, but it's sort of the rest is history, that I immediately started taking sketch classes, and then characters followed right after. So
You start doing a ton of stuff around, and it's nice when you start copywriting and you're getting real gigs, because then you can really support the comedy pursuits when you start working
Yeah.
real jobs and have insurance. So that's nice. So you have that. it's a serious pursuit to do all the things that you're doing in entertainment.
Mhm.
To do that alongside a job that can also be a lot, like copywriting it takes a lot of creative energy, but also time.
Mhm.
So how do you balance it just energy wise to be able to do that in the day and then do the shows at night?
Well, firstly, I'd like to say I waited tables for like 10 years. So I knew what that side was like, and I knew that kind of exhaustion.
Mm.
And so when I started to get into copywriting, I really had no idea like what a copywriter even did. I
Mhm.
just latched onto that role and I was just like, I think that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. So I really did get, a bit lucky in the way that I started sort of on the field before my foundational copywriting education. And I feel like it's always been like a sort of avant-garde learning process for me, but there's just nothing that's as exhausting as a service job, as like an industry, a service industry job. I mean, yeah, maybe I like don't love to go to all these meetings or, there's things that you gripe about, but I cannot, it's night and day to like,
Mhm.
have a job where I'm not on my feet constantly out in the world. So I do find that I have a lot of energy because it's a different kind of energy. And if I'm doing a show in the evening, a lot of times that's material I've rehearsed. And so it doesn't feel like I'm writing, ads and then writing my comedy stuff typically in the same day and then jetting off to a show. It's not that chaotic, but yeah, I mean, it's just a different kind of energy. So I feel really excited to go out into the real world and connect with people because that job isn't people forward all day like it was waiting
Yeah,
tables. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that is the sort of dichotomy of waiting tables. It's not
Mhm.
like you're just doing the footwork stuff, which is tiring, but then there's the constantly dealing with people
Yeah.
aspect of it as well that can be a lot, especially with certain customers.
Yes.
And I'm sure you heard a lot of people say like, "Oh, I bet you got a bunch of material out of dealing with customers." But like so often when you deal with somebody, you're like, "I just want to forget about them. I don't want
You're correct. It
to."
is like a something about like a self-preservation thing where you
Mhm.
black out all these bad memories.
Right. How much overlap was happening, say, when you were doing improv? Like, how soon did you start also doing sketch work?
I feel like I had a few failed attempts at sketch because I just didn't have that like foundation and like r- sort of routine writing down. So what happened was moved to New York and was like focused on just acting, and then some agent said, go take an improv class. And so I did, but of course, true to my competitive nature, had to take all the courses. And I still like the whole time, just it wasn't totally my thing. And then I just stopped for years. I really wasn't going on auditions. I didn't know how to make anything. I was really just sort of waiting tables. And then at around 2018, I think was when it was like 2018 or 2019, I started to get into UCB. And then unfortunately, things started going and then the pandemic hit.
Mhm.
But that was right around the time I had started to write satire and was getting satire published. So I had a weird hiatus and I don't think I really kicked stuff into gear until my 30s, just because I had done all these classes and had this foundation. And I was like, oh, now the idea box is open. Like
Mm.
there's no shutting that.
Yeah. I get that when the idea box is open, how it's just like, all right, this thing, and now this thing, and then suddenly you're doing all the things.
Yes. Yes.
But it doesn't feel some people are like, oh, it sounds terrible, but it doesn't feel that way. It's like,
No,
yeah,
it's
you're doing a
fun.
bunch of different things, but it's fun. And I guess it's just because that's the thing that gets us going. I
Yeah. And you
remember,
know what, like the other side of nothing is
right.
too,
Oh gosh, that is such a tough position to be in when it's like, I want to be doing this thing and I'm not near it.
Hmm.
I remember hearing Jon Stewart talk about when he found comedy, how it felt like his plug found the socket for him, that
Yeah.
made him go. And that's what it feels like when you're doing the thing that you're built for. Like I need to be energized. I need electricity and I can't find it. And then you find the thing. And when it's comedy, it's not like we just go on stage. I know with improv, we are making it up, but there are a lot of hours that go into pursuing that part of it, the stage part of it. And then when it comes to sketch, there's so much work, there's so much writing, there's so many rehearsals, there's so many tech rehearsals, and then there's doing the
Hmm.
show.
Yep. You're right. Yeah.
And it is a lot of hours, and it is, you do go home tired, but you don't feel burnt out by it because we love it.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like furthermore, filmmaking for me has been more of that sort of
Mm,
whatever you call it, spark in the socket, whatever he said.
yeah.
And that to me has, because I moved to Beacon. And so I left Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that felt, a little more accessible in some ways than always rushing to the city to do shows, which I still do. But I remember, the last time I got my headshots done with Mindy Tucker, and she and I were talking, and she was like, we were just talking about the runaround too, because there's a lot of shows you do, and you're like, wow, why am I doing this? Like, there's 3 people here, and we're gonna, and we're back on next week. And it's like, maybe this is an opportunity for me to like sort of be more selective in what speaks to me. And she was totally right. I felt like what ended up happening was I realized how much I love filmmaking as a part of my art making world.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, you've also started getting into filmmaking, started doing that. And also you have Humor Darling, which is an online satire platform that you created and run.
Yeah, I created it and co-ran it with Catherine Coleman
Mm-hmm.
and Baylor Knobloch. And we actually just ended it last month because we all have these other projects that are really just like sort of taking our focus. And we wanted to,
Yeah.
be fair about that and not have Humor Darling on the back burner. So it might start again if we feel, passionate about it. But I think we all just wanted that chance to try other things.
Yeah. When you started that, was it just because you were saying you're writing so much, you're enjoying it? What
Yeah.
made you want to start that? What was the sort of impetus to
Well,
begin?
that was right smack dab in the pandemic. So Humor Darling ran for 6 years.
Mhm.
And I had just started getting my work published by some satire publications around town. And I think I just realized like anyone can do this. What a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
And I think the pandemic was such a satire boom because everyone was home and like really had their eyes on the computer. It just felt like such a cool frontier. And we've made so many friends out of it across the country. There have been Humor Darling contributors from East to West Coast. And some of these people have moved to New York, and then I end up making a film and they're,
Mhm.
on my crew. And so there's been all these great sort of collaborations that have happened. And I don't think we knew that going into it, but it was such a good learning process to run Humor Darling and to figure out what it takes to run a community like that, because I hadn't at that point made anything independently. And it was pretty low stakes, it's just online. So I felt like we learned so much about communication and leadership. And, I think we had always hoped for greater ambitions. But the thing with anything is that, especially a community based thing, is that you have to be all in all the time. And
Yeah.
if you have other interests and curiosities, it's like you just can't juggle it all. So that's kind of what ended up happening. But yeah, it was really great. We learned a lot.
You've written quite a few short films. I guess the most recent one is Diane De Niro,
Mm-hmm.
but you have Fucktown, USA, you
Mm-hmm.
have After the Drop. And so, and you mentioned, how much you realize you love filmmaking. What about filmmaking really drives you?
Well, I think, when I started filmmaking, it was to put myself in the films because I didn't have access to better material. And that's been like the story of my life. It's like,
Yeah.
don't have the material. How do you get it? And I remember doing those like made up scenes. I like flew out to LA and had someone like set up a scene where I was like some, like part of a paralegal, a part of an investigation, or like a kidnapped woman in a basement, like all these crazy scenarios. But they were just all so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I felt like at the end of the day, it had a shelf life and it didn't really do much for me. And so I decided like, let's write some characters that really show off like my comedy,
Yeah.
which ended up being, Fucktown was my first film. And from there, it just kind of grew. I think what I love about it now that I sort of am stepping more into my directorial era, the films that I have lined up, I'm not in. And that's just, I think for me, I'm getting really invested in the world building now. I love the art of screenwriting and I long to be good at that and directing actors because I can see what a difference a solid script and a solid director makes on a film. And I've tried doing all of it before. It's maybe possible, but it's really, really hard to
Mhm.
do a solid job in three positions like that all around. So,
Oh, no, I've heard famous people that I've said it on the
hard.
podcast that like George Clooney was saying he doesn't like directing and acting and stuff
Yeah.
because when he's on camera trying to act, he's noticing, oh, the camera came in too soon or whatever.
Mhm.
And it's a distraction as an actor to deal
Yeah.
with that when like, oh, this is what the blocking was, this is what they're supposed to do. You already got enough to think about when you're an actor. So I totally understand wanting to, especially since you're such a writer, it makes so much sense that you want to go more into the direction of creating it and guiding it because you're building something, you're creating something. That's really cool. And I was just talking to someone about them wanting to create stuff for themselves and how like that was I've always thought like that just makes sense to do. I've always just considered that ever since Good Will Hunting because that's what
Mhm.
Ben Affleck and Matt Damon were doing was
Yeah.
creating something. And it's understandable to do that, but yeah, it's also better when if you write it and you're like, here's someone else who can direct it and I could just focus on the acting part. Would
Yeah.
you do that? Would you write it and let someone else direct it? Or are you enjoying filmmaking so much and since you wrote it, you have the vision for it so much that you don't want to act in it?
Yeah. I think if there was a role I had planned on playing, I'd have no problem. There's one script, I guess, in particular where I imagined playing one of the sisters. So maybe that would be something I would give to a director. But I feel like sort of like at a time in my life where I don't need to be doing all the things and doing the, always being the main character in the stuff I make. I think I'm getting really interested in, what it's like with other people. So I feel very interested in directing right now. But again, I guess if something was just like, oh, I should play this, obviously, then
Hmm.
yeah, I have no shame in handing off. And the biggest thing I've learned is like, how how big of an impact the extra help can make. I mean, like you don't need to be the savior and do all these things for
Right.
your project. And in fact, it's better because everyone's coming in with their own perspectives.
Right. It's interesting because there's so many writers who
are also acting in their work and they're directing it, and I'll think, oh, this is so great. Only they could have done this. This product comes out the way it is, the way it has, because they wrote, directed, and starred in it. And then I'll watch something that's not that good, and my reaction will be, oh, yeah, they wrote, directed, and starred in it.
That's exactly it.
That's why they needed somebody else there.
Right.
So I don't even know what the right balance is.
I know.
And I don't understand why both of those thoughts are in my brain.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. Yeah.
But it's good to have some other thoughts in the room sometimes, and a lot of times. And even if you do end up writing, directing it, it's good to like say, hey, can you read the script and just tell me?
Absolutely. I mean, I have, a few people that I'm always sending my scripts to. But even if you think someone did it all by themselves with the, writing, directing, whatever, I mean, it cannot be overstated how important an AD is in these moments,
Yeah.
And I mean, with Diane De Niro, that was Catherine Coleman was my first AD, and then Liz Weiss was my second AD. And without both of them, I think I would have probably been in tears in that filming. So
Yeah.
That
is something that people don't realize is so common. I've been on sets where the first AD did all of the stuff that before you go into acting, or if you're not in acting, you think the director is doing.
Yeah.
So much of that direction is like coming from a first AD sometimes, depending on the situation. And sometimes they're just there for the blocking and the director's giving more. Just depends on the set.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on the situation. As long as I won't say that. As long as they're doing something, then they deserve the credit. As long as the director is actually working, then they deserve the credit. But if they're just there going like, sure, next, then I'm a little worried.
Right.
I'm worried about those projects.
My husband and I were talking the other day, and I think it was like, I had never seen Memento. And so I think for the first time, pathetically, I'm reading Save the Cat.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Oh, really?
I've got it on my
everyone's got it.
Books
yeah.
that I'm going to read next.
That's fantastic. No, it's so silly. I think a lot of us brush it off because it's like, well, yeah. We all act like we've read it, and maybe you haven't read it. It's extremely helpful. And loving it. But, he references Memento a lot. And I'm like, I've not seen Memento. So we were watching Memento, which I think is like a pretty early film for Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, like his second one, maybe?
Yeah. And it was developed off his brother's short story. And I don't know if I had seen something online, but they're talking about Christopher Nolan's directorial techniques and how they, he makes the actors do 90 takes, or, it's exaggeration, but a lot of takes. And I was like, I just don't think I would do that. If I was offered, I would just say no. And John was just like, what are you talking about? Of course you would say yes. You don't want to be in a Christopher Nolan film. And it just woke me up out of my ego for a second there. I was like, yeah. The only co-star I've ever gotten was Cut. So I should probably do this imaginary Christopher Nolan film.
Yeah. I mean, when it's what is it? Fincher will do 200 takes or something like that. And that seems egregious. But people do it, so it must not be as bad as it seems.
Right.
Also, you think about it, if you're in a play, the amount of times you go over those scenes, you do it a lot. You do it so many times that it's is it really that different?
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And also, when I personally feel when we're going past 5 takes, we're splitting hairs on the issue at hand, or it's how are you going to watch all these and be able to decide?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I somewhat wonder if it just depends on the actor, because there's certain actors I could see being my best take is always within the first 2.
Totally.
and they're trash after that. And so I could understand why they wouldn't want to do a bunch of takes if someone knows that they do that. But if you are that person that takes 90 takes to like get to a place, and it's like
That's your
you
director
probably
then.
like it. Yeah. Hey, I
Also,
did a
how
good
do you-
job in this.
Yeah, like how do you have a career if you have to have 90 takes to like
For real.
get the one?
For real. Oh yeah, that's a lot. I mean, I wonder what it is they're going for, and yeah, are they watching all of those? How do they decide? I don't know. I would want to do 90 takes.
But like we would, you know what I mean? Like we would. We say this and it's like, well,
Oh.
Christopher Nolan was asking us. I think we would
Oh,
step up.
as an actor, I would do it. I'm wondering as a director, if I was directing something, I don't know if I would want to do 90 takes and then watch all of them back.
No, that's
I
so
would
much
not be able to
time.
remember. Yeah, it's so much time.
I don't
And
know
also-
if it's really 90 takes. I just want to be clear. But if we were talking
But like if we're talking about Fincher, like what
yeah,
like
yeah,
if
yeah.
someone's doing a bunch, then it is sort of like, oh man, that is so much time. I don't know if I would
so much
want to sit through it twice.
right.
Like I don't want to sit through however many insane
I know.
high
And then
amount of takes.
you have the flip side where indie filmmaking is like, we got one. And it's like, was the camera on? Like, I hope
Yeah.
it was on.
Where it's like smash and grab. There was some movie that way before he was the host of Late Night that Seth Meyers did where they filmed it in 13 days.
A feature, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was like, small film, but
Yeah.
it was a feature, and they really just had to do it that way. They were like, we just got to get this.
Oh,
This is the exact amount of days we have.
I've heard that story before. I heard that story from like a professor of film who was like, I shot my first feature in like a week and like, yeah, had one location or I don't even know. It was just like, oh, what is going on?
Yeah. And then sometimes, when people do take a bunch of time, then it's like, I wonder if people without that agency of like, we have to do it now, if they get lazy with their performances or the work they're putting out. I don't know. I want to make stuff. I want to, part of the reason I was thinking about writing stuff and creating stuff for myself the other day was because people don't really know what it is you can do as well as and the especially for a comedian, the thing that's really in your voice is not out there because it's your voice.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to create stuff for yourself.
Yeah, I get that.
What for you, because you got big with character work, and that is so a person's voice, and yes, a person's voice can show up in improv, but when you write a character piece, you perfect the character piece. You do it multiple times. You craft it. So that really is your voice, because it's your voice as the ideas you put out, but then also your voice in the way you craft things. So what would you say is your voice as a comedian?
I would say neurotic, I would say someone who like says the wrong thing at the wrong time. I draw a lot of inspiration from Gilda Radner or, like someone a bit more awkward like Miranda July, or even, someone a bit more like recent like Kate Berlant. But I love character work. I really enjoyed when I click into something that is totally me. Like I feel like my skydiving character I do is like, it's always, it's something I come back to because it's so fun. But it is really time consuming to come up with characters like that. And you go through a lot of ones that aren't you because you're just trying to figure it out. And a lot of this character work is geared toward auditions and you're trying to meet deadlines. And so when you have one that sticks, I mean, that really sticks, like it's actually kind of miraculous because the ones that I know from the people I love, it's like maybe they've got one. And if they're lucky, they've got three core ones that are like hilarious. I'll call on you to do that. But it's hard to find like something that is your sort of Mona Lisa of characters, you
Right.
know?
That is, yeah, let's talk a little bit about that because I haven't taken any character classes, so I don't know what the structure is for creating a good character piece. But I've seen a lot of character shows and I know a lot of people who do character shows, and it is its own art form within comedy. And I don't know that it gets a lot of talk about the fact that it is such a, I think people just kind of look at it as, yeah, same as sketch, but I don't think that's quite it. I see the similarities, but
Yeah.
because it's one person and it does seem like it has a different end goal than sketch, I would imagine it's a tough thing to figure out. And it is sort of like how the average comedian basically does their own SNL that can at time periods and it's 51 years can live or die on how strong the characters are. So what are the challenges when trying to come up with characters? Obviously you're a pretty prolific writer, so you can write a lot of stuff, but when it comes to writing a strong character that's worth putting out there, like what does that take? What are the challenges behind it?
Well, I've gone through a lot of phases with my character writing. And I think the biggest obstacle for a long time was making characters that were quick to set up and quick to break down.
Hmm.
I think I got, I got that challenge originally when I was getting coaching from Nick Maestad, who I admire so much, is just like such a fantastic character performer. And he challenged me to not use any props. So I tried that for a while because, yeah, you really get embedded in this world of wigs and like crazy props. And like, totally, there are times where you need them. Like, I couldn't do my skydiving character without the dental mouth spreader and the fan and but on the average for the average character, like, is there a way around the props? Not only does it like make it easier on you in terms of like coming to your gig, but I feel like you really start to lean into like what you authentically have skill wise as a performer. And Nick uses a lot of physical comedy. So that's just like a world that opens up, I think. But also the time on stage really dictates what happens because you'll have a character show where they're like, hey, I need 20 minutes. And it's like, holy, I don't know if I have 20 minutes.
Wow,
That's
yeah.
a lot of
There's
character.
a lot of characters, yeah.
But then you'll have like JFL where they're like, yeah, it's like 8 minutes and we're going to need you to do like 4 to 5 characters in that. And so you're just like running around like a crazy person. And then it becomes like what it happened to me was I had like 3 different versions, like a consolidated version and a longer version and like maybe a middle range version of the same character.
Mhm.
And then you've got to keep that straight in your mind because they're all kind of similar and you don't want to say the wrong line that leads you into another paragraph you don't have time for.
Right.
So that's the difference, I think, for me is like you are constantly trying to maneuver around your next gig, whereas sketch is the way it is always. Like this is the sketch you wrote, like it has to stay this way. So there are a lot of mental gymnastics that come with character work for sure.
For sure. Yeah, you mentioned JFL. Just for laughs, that's such a, I feel like it's the character equivalent of like Edinburgh. It's like the place where character performers can really get seen and get some good opportunities. Doing JFL, is it something that leads to booking acting gigs or finding representation? Is that the sort of hope with JFL, or is it more something to put on the resume to say like I was strong enough to get in this?
I think that's what it is now. I think JFL's just gone through a lot of changes. And when I first started character work, I was dead set on JFL.
Mhm.
And knew I needed a manager, and like I managed to convince someone, to get me on their roster. But I have not auditioned for JFL for, I think, a, maybe 1 or 2 seasons, maybe just one. I really go on and off with it because it is so time consuming, JFL and SNL. And I don't like that I have to like throw these characters away and start all over,
Yeah.
because sometimes you're just getting going and you're like, you're stopping the evolution before it starts. Plus, you don't even know if they watched the whole tape and they saw these characters, they saw like one, or they hated them all, or they like some, or. And so it just felt like I'm trying to figure out a puzzle for something that might not have a solution.
Mm.
So I only do those auditions when I feel like inspired to. I feel at this point, I was chasing it for so long and I did the callbacks, and I actually went to JFL for a different, I guess, like category entirely. It was like for a pilot I had collaborated on. But I don't know. I don't know that it matters in the way it did for performers now. And I don't say that with any disrespect to the organization, but I mean, the internet is what dictates,
Right.
if the public likes it, they will show you on the internet.
Yeah. And the industry has changed in large part because of how people consume things online. And, with SNL, I've never auditioned. I never will get a chance to audition, but
You don't know that.
well, I mean, okay. I feel like I'm aged out, but I also just don't do character stuff. But you're right. I don't know the future and I shouldn't talk like
Also, they famously aren't really taking on as many character actors, so this might be your
That's
time.
true. But what reason I was bringing it up was I could see a logic for them auditioning character performers where they're like, all right, show it. They're essentially saying, show us what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you want to show them variety.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see how some of you can go into that audition, that first one, and go, well, here are the things that do the best. And I could see how them as the auditioners can go, we want to see other stuff because these were all samey in a way. So we want to see what other gears you have.
Totally.
Because they have so many different needs on that show, like someone might need to play a mom, or, a politician, or just some goofy character, right? So you need to show that you can play any of those positions. With JFL, since it's a festival, like it's live shows, it doesn't have the same need that SNL has, because SNL is like, we're trying to do a full season week to week. We need to know that you can come up with characters. But what is the logic behind it with JFL? Are they just looking for stuff they think will hit on their stage and someone they think they can promote?
Yeah, I think
to
that's
get butts
it.
and yeah.
I think that's it. Yeah, I think it is a lot about the entertainment of the festival. You know, that can depend. I've seen it be, sometimes it seems to be more about the popularity on the internet, and sometimes it'll be like a completely new case, or this performer doesn't have a big following, and like maybe they just truly think this, will resonate with the audience. But yeah, it's a weird time because I know a lot of people who have done JFL and we're doing shows together, and, like things kind of continue on, or maybe they'll get an opportunity totally unrelated. But I don't know. I think it's just all over the place right now, and the industry's so wild west, which can seem scary. But also, I think for me, it became liberating because I felt like, oh, there was this path I had to follow, and that included JFL. And now I'm like, if it happens, great, fun, cool. If it doesn't, I'm over here like making my films and, like
Right.
performing with my friends.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's some scenarios where I think like that's still just the best scenarios, that I can make what I want to make regularly.
Healthiest. Mhm.
Like if it's If something blows up, it blows up. If it doesn't, it doesn't, as long as I'm making what I want to make.
Especially because
You know?
you like, I feel like the problem is when you put so much work into something, it often like doesn't blow up like online. And then it's like the thing that you spent 30 seconds like filming on your couch.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Yeah.
obsessed with that, you know? And so
Yeah. It gets increasingly more annoying. Like with stand up, I would write a joke and I'd be like, oh yeah, this is such a smart joke. I'm going to craft this up real nice. And then it bombs.
yeah,
And then the thing that just popped in my head be like, huh, that's funny.
that's it.
That thing that I didn't put any time into, I was like, I'll try it, whatever. That's the thing that becomes a material that I have to do whenever I do a show. But there's not nearly as much time in me writing a joke. Not that I still do this, but just back when I was writing jokes, I put so much more time into writing a sketch, and it's like, this sketch is just okay. It's
That's
like, man,
hard.
that's yeah. And then it just probably increases the bigger the project is. Like if it's a short film or a movie, it's like, I put all this time into this thing.
I think that is maybe a smidgen different than like social media content, because I think that there
Sure.
is some sort of voyeurism online where everybody is like I don't want like professional coloring or cinematography on my Instagram, but if you are going to a film festival or a theater, you
Yeah.
hope that there are those things. Like we as humans are messed up in that way. But
Yeah, the thing that's too polished online I don't know. It's weird because there's
it's like
sometimes,
advertising.
yeah, yeah. Like I don't know how to articulate it, but I do think sometimes some people's work comes off too polished in how it looks, but
Mhm.
not in making it just enjoyable to watch.
Mhm.
And then, the stuff that is as polished, but they also, visually as polished, but then they also put the right work into making it enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
So it's like they both look the same, but they feel different. And it's really just in how much time did you spend on the idea?
Yes, that's the
Making the
craft of
idea
the
good.
story. Yeah. And I
Right.
think people get like lost in the sauce about certain stuff. And like, it's hard because I mean, I get that feeling entirely too, that like we only have so much time on earth to make things. And like maybe there is like a
Yeah.
rushed sense with some artists that like, they feel that too. And then, they're pumping stuff out and it's like, well, this is falling flat because you're not taking one beat to like understand what you're trying to say and why it's funny.
Right. But they
Yeah.
thought about like the lighting,
Right.
and it's like,
Right.
I mean, I've watched and enjoyed stuff where they didn't put that much thought in the lighting or the editing and the cuts and all that. They just were like, here's a funny bit that was making
Yeah.
us laugh. And we're just going to keep that energy when we record it and then just put it out. And it's
And
like, I like that so much more than the
yes,
overly polished stuff that's polished in the wrong way.
I think that that's why people react the way they do with like wanting more like lo-fi,
Mm-hmm.
social media comment or content, because they have had those surprises where it's like
Yeah.
some dude on his phone, but it's really good content. It's just so interesting how that works, because there is a certain trust with
Yeah.
that people have with like new creators that might not have the lighting down, but they've got this like fresh take on things.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we've reached the end of the episode, unfortunately, because it's been great talking to you.
Yeah.
But here's my idea for creating something together. It's maybe more just an advice one this week. I'm wondering how you would determine the difference, because you're writing so much now, you're writing so many characters that are in films,
Mm-hmm.
and you've had so much experience writing characters for character pieces. How does that play out differently depending on the medium? Like when you're writing a character for a short film, obviously it's going to be very different than the character piece character. So what makes it different when you're trying to flesh those characters out and write good pieces?
I think it's what you said. It's about the idea and the story. There's always a story, even if it's a one-page script. So just knowing that story, I think, guides everything else, having a reason for these characters to be. I mean, you can have somebody that like has this whole life and like way of being, but if they don't have a sort of like drive in the story, then there's really no point in them being there at all. Like, so anyway, I guess what I'm saying is like short or long, like it really is always about the story. So, and it might seem crazy to say that when, we're performing characters that are sometimes a minute, but I believe it. I believe there's a story in that.
That does help make a character piece feel more fleshed out.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're thinking of it in that way and not just the sort of like bitty sort of element of it.
Yeah. And they can go hand in hand,
Sure. Do you ever write or come up with characters and then go, that's better for a short film than for a character piece or vice versa?
Yeah. Honestly, I thought about, gosh, I want to say I did that with Diane De Niro, even that I had this idea about, a bit about like, oh, if I just change my last name, and then that turned into a short film. So I think that, I think that's more of a reason than any to keep track of all your ideas and revisit them and understand like, oh, I thought I was writing, like you said, I thought I was writing like a character for the stage, but this is actually like somebody who's going to be the main character in my TV pilot. Stuff changes,
Yeah. And also it can be all the things sometimes. Look at Pee Wee
Yeah.
Herman. Pee Wee
Yes.
Herman was very
Such
much
a good example.
Yeah, live character piece that then became a character for a TV show. We could
Yes.
center a TV show around. We could center a movie around that character.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. They make it make sense. Just, maybe giving reason for in a movie, you got to maybe give a certain backstory that isn't going to be in the live character piece when he first showed up.
And it gives longevity to your stuff too, because I'm always telling my friends this, just because you're sick of it doesn't mean it's time to throw it away, because there's all these people who haven't seen it yet,
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. So when they're sick of it, are they like, I'm just tired of playing this character or tired of writing for it? Or
Yeah, like I'll give you an example. I have a friend who he's got an amazing solo show, and he's since created a second solo show and is already embarking on his third. But I said, hey, like your first solo show was so good. Why wouldn't you take that to Edinburgh? And he's like, well, I've just done it so much. It's been so hard to get butts and seats in New York. And I was like, yeah, because we're all friends with actors and comedians and they have shows too.
right.
It doesn't mean your show's not good. You've gotten the attention of other solo artists who had never seen your work before and it stuck with them. Like that should say something,
Yeah.
And so always keeping like a clear head about the fact that like your work is old to you, but that doesn't mean you should move on. Like I'm going to keep showing Diane De Niro for the next year, because it costs me a lot of money. And also people haven't seen it yet,
Right. Yeah, give them an opportunity to check your work out. That's why we make it, is to put it out. No, that is something that I didn't think about in terms of this kind of work, or really any kind of work. There's a singer who was saying that he was so surprised that audiences were wanting to listen to early songs of his. He was like, I thought when I was making that first record that they were just songs that you put out and then they just go away. And people just stop. And I was like, that's not how that works. like people rewatch stuff and it's like, they re-listen to albums. They want to hear that. They want to feel that album again. And then when it comes to like movies or characters, it's like, yeah, I want to see this again. I want to
Yeah.
rewatch.
I think most artists are like how you describe that person. It's like, I just think it goes away. Like, no.
Like it does for you because you're the one creating. You're having a
Uh-huh.
different experience with it, and you're trying to move on to a different
Yeah.
thing. You know, a new challenge with whatever it is you're trying to make, but it doesn't end for
Right.
everyone else.
I know. And sometimes if it's that good, you're that character for like, I mean, Flo from Progressive, God bless her.
Yeah, and there are a couple other people in that group of the progressive people who are like character performers, or they do live comedy, and they're keeping the lights on with Progressive money, and then they're able to do their wild stuff on stage. It's like, yeah, that's a good place to be.
Yeah, totally.
Well, there it is. Thanks so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you. This was so fun, Jason.
Laura rocks. It was so great having her on and talking to her about everything. That was very informative. She's also such a nice and smart person, and we want good things for nice and smart people. Find out more about her on her website, lauraornella.com, and don't forget about her Surreal Film Fest, Surreal World in Marlboro, New York at the Falcon on November 14th. Also follow her on Instagram @_Laura Ornella. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads @ThereItIsPod, and subscribe to our YouTube channel @ThereItIs, and follow me on Instagram and Threads @JasonFarPics. Also subscribe to our comedy lifestyle newsletter and support us if you can. We have a Patreon and a PayPal. Go to thereitispod.com for newsletter and support info. Links in bio. Until next time, be good to each other. It's a moral imperative.
The music for the theme song was created by Neil Brooks. The rap was written and performed by Nick Acevedo. The logo for There It Is was created by Jeff Prater. The There It Is podcast is produced by Jason Farr.